All right, in this video, this will be our last one to go over some DAX functionality. We've gone over sum, we've gone over calculate, we've done related earlier when we were doing calculated columns. Now we're going to do two more, count rows, distinct count, and then we'll also look at the divide function. And that'll be a good start. So here's my questions. I want to look within a certain brand how many total items were purchased in 1997. So I want to cut this by product brand. And I want to know how many items purchased. I want to know how many purchases there were. And then what is the average items purchased? So I want to take this value and divide by this one for each product brand. I'm going to use the divide function. And then I'm also I want to know how many unique product IDs are in each brand. So to do these first, to do this one, how many purchases, I'm going to use the count rows. This, we've already got this measure. That's total quantity. So I've already got this one, but I'm going to use count rows to get my total items purchased. And then we'll create another measure, which is average items purchased. And then we'll create one more using the distinct count for unique product IDs. Okay, so I'm going to open up this back here in my model. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to my pivot table. And I'm going to go to the product. I'm going to go to the brand. I'm just going to bring that over here. I'm going to cut this by brand. So here are all of my brands in this database. Looks like there's about 112 of these things. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to bring in my total quantity. We've already generated this measure. So this tells me that this particular brand, ADJ, there were 164 items purchased. Well, now my question is, how many purchases were there? How many purchases were there? Well, there were at least 100. I mean, there could have been 164 because we could have just bought one every time. But let's determine what that is. So let's go into our measures. Let me make sure you understand what I'm doing. I'm going to go to my manage and I'm going to go to my transactions table here. And so if I wanted to look up how for every one, so that's a transaction, that's a transaction. So I want to count how many different transactions. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I want to cut this by product. So what I'm going to do is go to Power Pivot, create a new measure, and we'll put this, we'll keep it in the transactions, and this is going to be number of transactions. And what I'm going to do is count rows. So the function I'm going to use is count rows. And you can see there's all kinds of different counts you can do. You can count numbers, you can count blank rows. I'm going to use count rows. And then I just got to give it a table where it's my Food Mart table. It's just that. That's it. You just want to count the number of rows in that particular transaction. Check the formula. That looks like that's working. Let's show this as a whole number. Use this and hit OK. And now I'm going to, and you can see it was dropped right in number of transactions, and there you go. So there were 168 items purchased from this product brand, but that was made up of 58 different transactions. So what's the average number? Well, that would be equal to this number divided by this number to be that. Well, I want to be able to generate that number as a measure. I don't want to have to do it outside of my pivot. So I'm going to generate that measure by going back in and building another measure. And I'm going to keep this in the transaction. This is going to be the average quantity per transaction. Again, you can call it whatever you want. That's probably too long. But what I'm going to use this time, and you could just divide. You could just do this. You could say, again, these are measures I've already generated. I could say total quantity divided by, just put the divide sign by, and I'm going to, again, I hit bracket and then get the, what did I call this, number of transactions. You could absolutely do that. The problem with this is that if this was ever blank or 0, this would give you an error. And so over here you would see an error. So what you can do is use a function called divide. You could use a function called divide. And you put the numerator again, which is the total quantity, comma, the denominator, number of transactions, but it gives you a, what if there is an error? If there's an error, what do you want to get? And I'm just going to make it do blank. And so I put a double quote, double quote. That way it doesn't give me an error, it just gives me a blank. So if this is ever blank, it'll give me, if this is 0 or blank, it'll blank. And you can, I'm going to show this as 2 decimal places, maybe just 1 decimal place like that. Average quantity per transaction. Go ahead and bring it in. There's that number, but now it's automatically done this for me. Total quantity this number now is this number divided by this. And what's cool is I don't need to have these anymore. I could just do that. I don't need those. They're still there. It's taken 2 measures, so the average quantity per transaction is that. Now the last thing I'm going to look at is my product IDs. I want to know how many unique product IDs there are by brand. So within our product brand, how many unique product IDs on that? And there's 2 ways to do this. An easy way is just to bring this in and then do a count. But I want to get a unique count, and I'm going to show you how to do this a different way that it seems like it's adding a little bit of work, but it's actually pretty good. I'm going to use this distinct count, and it only counts unique items. So I'm going to go back to my power pivot and go to my measures, build 1 more measure, and we'll call these unique products. And what I'm going to use is the distinct count. Counts the number of distinct values in a column. So it's just going to have to pick a column. And we're going to go to our product lookup, and let's do product ID. Like that. And I should have, I need to manage that, make sure it's a whole number. I'm going to go back to that measure in unique, and I'm going to edit it. I want to make sure it's a number and a whole number. Like that. And there's my unique products. So there are exactly 1 unique product. There's only 1 product ID. In American, there's 14 products. In Best Choice, that these. You can actually highlight these and maybe go under here under under the Home tab, do some conditional formatting and add some color bars. I'm just going to use blue. And use that just as an indicator which one of these, so you can see the Best Choice, there's 36 unique products, and the average number of items purchased per transaction is 3. Okay, I think that's enough DAX formulas for you for this class. Thanks.